Welcome to Living in the Culture. I created this podcast to support and inspire the next generation of leaders and professionals. If you've ever felt like you had to change who you are, how you look, or how you show up just to be taken seriously, then this conversation's for you. Because leadership doesn't require conformity, and success doesn't require compromise. I started living in the culture because I saw a gap between talent and confidence, a gap between culture and professionalism, and a gap between who people really are and who they feel pressured to become in order to succeed. Too many people believe that to climb the success ladder, they have to fit into someone else's box. They feel they have to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, or suppress parts of themselves to move forward. This podcast exists to challenge that idea, not with hype, not with shortcuts, but with real experiences, real principles, real conversations about growth. Let's talk about that for a minute. If you're in a situation where you have a diverse group of individuals, different backgrounds, different experiences, different ways of thinking, and they feel safe enough to express themselves, to be themselves, you're going to get a 360-degree perspective on any situation. You're going to get ideas from every angle. You're going to get solutions you didn't even know were possible. You're going to uncover blind spots before they become problems. But if people feel like they have to think the same, act the same, speak the same, you're going to get the same answers over and over again. And when everyone sounds the same, innovation dies quietly. So let me ask you a question. Why hire all of these smart people? Why bring in talented engineers, creatives, analysis, leaders? Why say you value diversity if you're just going to force them to think the same way? That's not leadership. That's control. Real leadership is creating an environment where different perspectives are not just tolerated, they're expected, where disagreement isn't disrespect, where challenge isn't rebellion, where creativity isn't suppressed, it's sharpened. Because the goal isn't comfort, the goal is growth. The strongest teams I've seen weren't the ones where everybody agreed. They were the ones where people respected each other enough to disagree and still move forward together. That's how you build culture. That's how you build innovation. And that's how you build legacy. So as you step into this week, I want you to ask yourself, am I creating a space for perspective? Or am I unconsciously shutting it down? Am I hiring for diversity, but rewarding conformity? Because if you want 360-degree results, you need 360-degree voices. When I say living in the culture, I'm not just talking about fashion, because culture is identity, culture is values, culture is lived experience. It's where you come from, it's how you think, and what shapes the way you see the world. Living in the culture means you don't leave those things at the door when you walk into a classroom, a boardroom, or a workplace. You carry them with you with confidence, discipline, and purpose. That's why we design culturally inspired clothing, not to make noise, but to allow self expression, to remind people that who they are is enough. And that same philosophy applies to this podcast. This podcast is for the student who's figuring out their path, for the young professional trying to find their voice, for the creative, for the entrepreneur, the builder, and the leader in progress. It's for anyone who's ever been told, tone it down, blend in, or look like everyone else in order to succeed. If you're serious about growth, regardless of your profession, you belong here. On this podcast, you'll hear stories from myself and from others across different careers and walks of life. You'll hear lessons learned the hard way, principles that actually work, and guidance you can apply whether you're building a career, a business, or a future. There are no overnight success promises, just real conversations designed to help you climb the success ladder with integrity and intention. This isn't just a podcast, it's a community. It's a space for people who believe leadership starts with character, that professionalism doesn't require erasing identity, and that culture is a strength, not a setback. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to the podcast. Share it with someone who's on their journey and be a part of what we're building here at Living in the Culture. I'll leave you with this. You don't need permission to lead. You don't need approval to succeed. You don't need to look like anyone else to become who you're meant to be. Stay authentic, stay disciplined, and keep climbing. This is Living in the Culture.